What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Claypool Show. Super excited to have a special guest on today he's very humble, so he won't tell you this, but he's insanely successful. One thing I appreciate about him is not only is he insanely successful on the financial side and real estate, but he's successful in his family too and his kids. And so we're going to get into this. Talk about it, Jeremy. Introduce yourself, man.
Jeremy Engel. Been doing loans for 18 years, and that made me feel a little bit old just now. Perfect. I would say more ask away. I'm better at answering questions than telling people about myself.
So how did you get into the loan industry, man?
Ooh,
how did it even happen?
I was getting my real estate license while I was in college because I knew I wanted to do something with real estate. But at the time I want to be a realtor. That's all I really knew. And a buddy of mine kept hitting me up about, oh, you should do loans. You should do loans. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. And eventually I gave it a try and did a loan for a buddy and gave him a good deal and made a pretty good chunk of money and was like, this isn't that bad, So that kind of stuck, and just from then on, history.
Okay, so you started just kind of like we all start, right? You get into it. Did you have how did that happen? Did you have a sales manager at first that said like, hey, these are like, how did you go from being an initial LO to who you are today? Oh. As Jeremy Engel. We don't have to go into the whole thing right now, but we can kind of like slowly build up to that.
Yeah, I think I didn't really. I had when I first got in the business, it was 2005 and 6, so it was cranking for most people. But I was the new guy. I wasn't Jeremy Engel like I am today or whatever. So I would try to get. I would do the worst loans, the mobile home, whatever it was. I would give it a try and. Eventually it started picking up, and I think the difference between me and you as well, and most of our colleagues, is we don't take our foot off the gas pedal. And a lot of times people would, do 5 loans, make a good chunk of money, and then chill out or go on vacation where, I was going on vacation, but I always joke around with people. I say I work from cool places. Right. I don't ever really take time off. But I think that's what kind of took me. My wife stopped working when my son had open heart surgery when he was really young. He's totally fine now, so that's all good. But when she stopped working, there was something in my mind that said, I have to produce, 10X or whatever to support the whole family. Obviously I've done pretty well with that, but even today it's harder to keep my foot on the gas like it was. But if I'm not going to do it 100%, I'm going to stop completely,
So you mentioned, or Ernesto here, I wanted to say hello. You mentioned that you started in 06.
Yeah.
Not fast forwarding too quickly, but obviously at that time, 08 was right around the corner.
Yeah.
So, how did that impact your business, and how obviously you overcame? And I know I started in 14, and I know that there was some things around that time, like the cross approvals and stuff like that, where Jeremy Engel was everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I know. But how did, that's obviously fast forwarding, 6 years from then. Yeah. But in 08, how did you approach that 08 crash or whatever you want to call it? Because that was a difficult time where a lot of people did shut down. Obviously that would have taken the foot on the gas pedal pretty hard.
Yeah. The good news is I wasn't really making much money in 2005 and 6, so I didn't really have anything to lose. I'd say during that time, in 05 and 06, or I would say 06, 07, I was out hitting realtor offices back when people used to work in the office. So I would go around and give my card. Sorry, stupid phone. Give my card out to all these different agents, and I started putting candy bars with my card. I didn't have a lot of money, so like I could buy a box of candy bars for $40 and meet a bunch of people, go into offices. They were always there. So when
Dude, I just want to say that's still so people don't do that anymore, and I feel like if they are in the office, that's huge, dude. That's like
it's very boots on the ground, huh? Like
yeah, dude, freaking a candy bar with your business card. How cheap is that, and how effective is it?
It's super cheap, and I would like joke around. I'm like, you guys are busy, you're hungry, remember me when you need a loan. Just cheesy, but ask for the business. It was a lot easier there because there was offices with 100 agents in them, and it was full. Like it was legit. Nowadays you go into these giant offices and there's 4 people there. One's like back office worker and receptionist. So it's definitely times have changed, but so I would just strike conversations with people and they'd get to know me, and, I would ask for the business.
So that was your marketing side.
Yeah.
So at the very beginning, you would say that was like your number one thing that helped you grow was meeting with people, doing those in-person walk-ins and things of that nature.
100%.
Were you ever like a phone call guy? I know some people.
No. I mean, if I had deals in contract, but back then I didn't have much, and I'd always be hitting up the other agent and stuff. I'm starting to get better about that now. For a while, I didn't have time. Like I got really busy and couldn't do that kind of stuff. But today I'd say phone calls are good. But the other thing is I was always trying to figure out something that everyone else wasn't doing. Because, and that's, back to 2006, I was out doing that because I didn't have business. Everyone else was just answering their phone, slaughtering it. Right. So then when all that stopped, basically what happened is I was the guy that was in front of everyone. And a lot of these people are like, well, I guess it's over, and got out of the business. So, half the loan officers or even more just became obsolete. And I was the guy in their face all the time.
That's the opportunity right now, I feel like. Kind of. Maybe not to that extent.
It's different, but yes.
I think all the connections we're making and all the seeds we're planting, I hope that, I'll exceed what I was doing in 21 by a long shot, hopefully.
And I think the funny thing is that something as simple as that is so difficult for a lot of people.
100%.
Like you think it's easier said than done. But I remember I had a guy come in, he was an insurance agent that came into our office one time, and I was like, you know what? Not a lot of people are willing to do that and come and ask for the business, and the ones that do, I'm like, respect, and I started working with them because of that, so that's pretty, awesome that you said that, because
I remember going into offices in the beginning and it was freaking scary. I mean, you'd see the same names on all the signs and you got a chance to talk to these people, and, and the number one guys, gals, whoever, they're getting hit up by everyone, especially right now. And I think the calls is tough. Like I hear a lot of my agents tell me like, oh my God, all these lenders won't stop calling me, so trying to be different, but I think that's a good thing to do. I think it's, if you stay consistent with it, but that's what I would always do. I would always come in. I was like the Candyman. Like, I think I've heard that name back in the day.
Dude, actually a great idea is to get like a glass jar. This is it sounds so like stupid and cheesy, like you mentioned, right? But like just getting a glass jar, putting it in each office with your business card on it, and then coming and refilling that candy bucket.
It's a great idea.
Every couple of weeks.
I did
or
that with the
something
subdivisions years ago. I bought. So fast forward a few years, now I have new homes that I am the preferred lender in. I had the Vero Mortgage jar, and I had suckers with dollar signs like printed on them.
That's fun.
So. Yeah. And they said veromortgage.com or jeremyengel.com or something on them. I haven't done it for a while, but just little things like that, But
I think that's interesting, because going back to like the 08, kind of overcoming that and doing those things, is because we are in, obviously it's not the '08, completely different, but we're in a market where it has dwindled down a lot more than what we've seen, especially more recently. But it's interesting to know kind of like how you overcame and then just blew up after that. That's something that I think is pretty.
And as far as blowing up, like the systems that you had to like created, so where did you learn that? Did you learn that from just another mentor, or just kind of like
I just did
trying it and
Smart. Yeah.
That's
no,
kinda how
I mean,
feel
I
too.
wouldn't
I
say
just
I
did
was
it too.
in school. I was never smart. Like I struggled. I was bored. You know, I think once I found something that like I can do this and I'm good at it, and but I had to learn to do the, you know, textbook stuff in loans, like the meeting the people and getting to know them and all that. That was easy for me. That just came naturally. But learning how to put the loans together, I mean, learned the hard way on some stuff. But I would say like when I was growing, like you asked earlier, how did you overcome that, you know, the hardest time? It was, it wasn't hard for me because I was still growing.
Nice.
Like the only time I've ever had to like cut back was 2022 and today, you know? And the difference today versus then is there was homes to buy and they were kind of affordable. You know, we were doing FHA loans with, I had this one program, it was Nehemiah or something. So it was basically 100% financing, FHA loan, great product. And there was a plethora of foreclosed homes to buy.
So do you think that this market is tougher than the '08 market?
I do.
Yeah.
Just a different
Which it makes
mindset.
me happy because I feel like, you know, we're excelling as much as we can in this market and growing and putting our...
If I was pre-qualifying as many people in 08 as I am today, I would be murdering it.
No, same here.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm doing fine. But it's like the amount of people at pre-qual that go to contract right now is like 10%, which is the horrible ratio. But if there's no houses to buy, what are you doing with these pre-quals other than paying $50?
And to put it in perspective, he says murdering it. Jeremy is murdering it. His perspective of murdering it is a little skewed. All right? His perspective is, damn, I only closed 60 loans this month. So, you know.
60 is murdering it.
60, yeah.
It's probably more like 30 or 40 right now. But
Well, personal.
it's fine.
Personal than your branch.
Oh,
And
yeah. Branch.
so, I mean-
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Branch, I'd say 120 would be good.
yeah, that's where you were, right?
was,
Probably more
yeah.
than that, too, sometimes.
I feel like we're talking about football days or something. Oh, back in 82, you know.
I think we'll be back there, though, man. We'll be
Yeah.
back there. It's going to take some time, though. It's not going to happen overnight.
There needs
you
to
know,
be some serious changes with, you know, rates. You know?
I think we're going to be looking like 1 to 2 years for it to get better, you know, a little bit better than what we're at
I'm
now.
laughing because I've
closing.
been saying 6 to
I
18
know.
months for the last 3 years.
We've all been saying that.
Damn it, Barry B.
I know. And then 5 years
Habiba.
for us to be like, hopefully, you know, skyrocket. We'll see, though.
Things will definitely change in that much time.
Nobody has a crystal ball, right? So go into a little bit about your system. Like, how are you structured? So you're taking the initial phone call with a client, you're having that conversation, and then Allie's doing the pre-approval?
No,
Or
I have Matt and Michelle. I have 2 pre-qualers, and depending on volume and what they're working on, they work it out amongst each other to decide who does it. And then once it gets pre-approved, they send out the letter. If they have any questions, sometimes they'll come back to me depending on the relationship. But most of the time they do a pretty good job up front. And then when it goes into contract, it gets handed off. Depending if they buy new construction, it will go down one channel. And if it's, I want to call
Purchase, resale?
resale. Yeah, I was going to say used homes. It doesn't sound as good, you know. Then they go down another channel, and those 2 people are contract to close.
So how are you faring? Because I know a lot of people want to know this, especially the loan officers. You mentioned you do a lot of new builds, which is it's known here that you do that a lot of new builds. how are you faring like this constant increase in rates and having those people that are like approved from like, let's say 6 months ago or even longer, and just watching it just do what it's doing and be able to still wake up in the morning?
Yeah. I mean, today it's not as bad because the rates have been, I mean, yes, very volatile, but they're only swinging maybe 1%. Where in early 2022, mid 2022, it was freaking brutal.
Yeah, because every month it was just, oh, we're up another %, up another. Now people are kind of.
I knew
used to
rates
it.
were going to go up. I never thought that they would go up, 5% in 6 months or whatever that number was. I thought we'd be, 4, 5, 6. I thought we might touch 7, but then I thought we'd come back down. But I thought that was going to be like 2-year cycle, 3-year, and it wasn't that way. So yeah, that was brutal, man. I remember doing a lot of loans where I not only did them for free, if not paid to close them, because some of these people had sold their homes, went into the new build, took 6 months. I qualified them in December. Now it's May, and their rate went from 275 to 575. The builder also on some of those was pretty generous on helping some of these, because some of them didn't qualify anymore with that rate. So we did
It's double,
buy downs and some other things.
I want to point out one thing too. You talk about that. I do that too sometimes when we don't like doing it, right? When we're not making anything on the deal, or sometimes we're paying to do a deal.
I love doing it.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
just,
sure.
it's my nonprofit. It's just amazing.
And some people don't
I always
understand.
call it jeremyengel.org. I need to probably buy that website.
I know.
It's funny because in our office we call them donuts. We'll be like, we made a donut.
Oh, that's
because
smart.
it's enough.
Sometimes I'm happy to make that on some deals.
Yeah,
Dude.
as long as it closes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the relationship
Is worth
is
way
what
more.
what you build with that. I have a deal right now that's a little bit tough, and I'm making some on it, but we ended up having to give a large credit, and just like it just turned into a kind of a shit show. But the agent's like, dude, I will not use anybody else.
Yeah.
Because you are I can't believe how, like, it's been a shit show. It's been a tough deal, but he sees how far above and beyond I'm going. And he's like, I'm going to work with you again. You know?
I
And so-
100% am letting the agents know when I'm doing that.
same.
Yeah.
Like there are times where like the borrower, like I care a lot, and then there's other times where maybe the borrower wasn't that cool. So I'm like, why am I going to lose money on this deal? So I will definitely let that agent know that I need, something in the future for this, because you're making your commission and I'm basically paying your commission,
right, to do it.
to do the deal.
That's very true. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving from the mortgage side, we can jump back and forth. One thing that you've been really good at is investing your money properly.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, in this industry, I think a lot of people spend their money a little
Yeah.
too much, right? Buying things they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you have, a lot of rental properties that are paid off, and I say that because it's a statement. It's not just rental properties that you have, which is a great thing too, but you have the cash flow, like the true passive income, and you could retire today if you wanted to. You say you couldn't, but you could.
Yeah, my
at the end of
lifestyle's
the day.
changed a little bit since then. But
Yeah. But so what kind of got you into the investing side of things? Who did you just learn that? Because I know you're partnered with the Osbornes on a lot of things. Did that help you out in that journey, or?
That definitely helped me grow in Fresno bigger as a loan officer. In the beginning, Mike actually was just flipping. He wasn't holding. And we used to have conversations about that. And I would tell him to hold. I would say like my dad had a couple rental properties over the years, but sold them. And then my father-in-law has quite a few rentals. And he's probably the one that taught me the most about that. And then another guy my dad knew held some rental properties, and it was just like everyone I knew that was really successful had some sort of rental properties. The other thing I saw is, remember in 2005 and 6, like I was mowing lawns on the weekends and my wife was helping me when we started when I moved to the Valley, and so we were just, I mean, we weren't struggling, you know, because we came from college. Like we were used to living a really minimal life. But I remember watching friends that had the new Porsches, the M5, when it cost X amount more, lose everything. So my wife and I, before we even bought the house that we lived in at the time, we had acquired quite a few rentals. Every time we'd make money, and we didn't have kids, so you know we made a lot of money when you don't have kids. You know, even if we weren't making near the amount we do today. So I bought one, and then I just always looked at it like, say it rented for $1,000, like, and back then, like, obviously they all had loans on them, and I would go, okay, in my retirement, this is going to be $1,000. So every time I did it, I'm like, okay, I'm 1,000 more, you know, and it just became kind of an addiction. I didn't, and I learned like what numbers work. And then I used to try to buy them if I could put them on a 10-year loan. If it penciled, I would do that. Obviously that's
not available today.
No. If it was
15
I'd be buying houses and not sitting here, you know? But,
and I would assume at that time, because you were picking up more and more properties, your mortgage business was growing pretty rapidly at that time, would you say?
yeah. And my wife was working too.
Okay.
So, and she was, doing real estate and doing pretty well. I would say, you know, nothing compared to like big agents today, because it was different back then. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we were both working, used to living off nothing, and we would do fun stuff, but nothing crazy.
Now you got to do the fun stuff. Huh?
Kind of. I mean, it's all the kids today, you know. It's fun, but it's like a third, fourth job, you know.
When you're looking at these properties,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I've learned this from you, is you're looking at something that's not completely dilapidated, right? Or do you ever do any properties or buy any properties that are completely dilapidated?
I bought a duplex last year, or was it this year? No, last year, and it was half burned down.
Okay, so that's pretty dilapidated.
That's pretty dilapidated. Yeah.
But also too, you have the resources and cash that you just buy this thing outright. You're like, I'm just gonna do the repairs
so in
on
that
it.
case, like, you had to. There's no way you're going to get a loan on it. That was kind of a pain in the ass, but it worked out. I bought it for $150, and it took about $60,000 to get it back up to par. Well, my handyman lives in one unit, so it's probably $2,400 a month income if I were to have it at market rents.
Plus all the tax benefits of owning.
100%.
Right. That's the bigger.
The cost segregation.
That's the bigger part, is the tax benefits. So when you're looking at these properties, like if
that was a home run. So like, it was, the problem was that took about a year to get everything. There was a lot of city stuff you had to do, you know, so that kind of stuff can eat it, especially if you're borrowing the money. Mm-hmm. Like if I was starting back in the day, there's no way I could do that.
Right.
You know,
unless you get private money and you want to take that risk on. But if it's 12 months out and you have private money for 12
And
months,
you never
you're
know what
getting
might come up.
obliterated.
you just lost 12%.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good point. You just lost 12% right away. Yeah.
yeah. Or that property just cost you 12% more. So I would say if you're going to borrow hard money, borrow it where you can move it fast if you have to. Now, in that case, like if I would have had to move it fast, I would have been stuck, you know, because there was red tag from the city and all that kind of stuff. And probably could have done it faster, but I have cash flow and I have a mortgage company I'm trying to run as well, you know, so.
Right. And you're buying these properties cash, so you don't have a private loan on it. So it's like.
And at the time, I mean, now you can get quite a bit more money in the bank, but I was getting less than 1% or something. So it was either my money sitting there making nothing or here making nothing, you know.
Right. That makes sense.
So, but yeah, you're right. I try to look for stuff that, you know, just needs a little fixing up. You know, in the beginning, one of the first houses, probably like the third house I bought, I went through and my wife and I, like, we were young, you know, we're sanding down the floors, fixing it all up, put new windows in it, and the tenants thrashed it. You know, and from then on, I was like, you know what? Paint, carpet, done. You know, nowadays I'll go through and put countertops in and do a few things that, I mean, granite countertops, yeah, they look nice, but also they're freaking bulletproof. You know, I'll put LVT throughout the whole house.
LVT for people that don't know.
It's like this. I don't know what laminate something.
Laminate. Okay.
It's basically it looks like real wood, but it's made from like plastic composite, and it's bulletproof. So you basically want to not have to replace things every time someone moves out. So the longevity, like if a house needs paint and it's like starting to peel, I know that if I paint that house, I'm going to have to paint it again in 3 or 4 years because it's just going to start peeling behind it. I rip it all off, restucco the house for $7,000. Now I didn't spend $2,000, $2,500 painting it and have to do it again. You know?
And see, that's the mindset that people don't have. Like you're thinking 2, 3, 4 years down the road.
30 years down the road.
Right. Yeah, 30 years down the road. Some people are like, oh, if I have to pay this now, more now is, you know, not what I want to do. So
well, I mentioned,
that's a testament right there.
I mentioned to you,
my
my AC guy will throw a used AC on one of my houses if I need. Well, to me, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a way better deal short term, but now I'm going to be replacing it again in 5 years. Or if I put a brand new one on it, it could last me 20, 30 years and just kick the can further down the road, you know?
So what would you recommend to somebody like me or even Ernesto getting into this game? You know, I have 2 rentals. I have one. Well, I have more than rentals than that, but I have 2 under contract that I'm working with right now.
Yeah.
The one that you helped me just buy.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that I'm in contract with. That one's going to be a lot cleaner. And there's a third one that popped up, and I'm like, I could do it. But I'm like, I'm realizing after this one came back with an $18,000 pool repair that I'm not going to do. I'm just going to bury the pool and some other stuff. I'm like, okay, so, you know, I probably need to slow down a little bit.
Just pump the brakes.
And just see what happens with these 2.
Make sure there's fluid in those brakes.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Get these 2 dialed in and then move on. So at what point do I start scaling to buy 5, 6, 10 a year? You know, I guess just when I get more and more.
I would say when the opportunity arises, don't be in a big rush to be Donald Trump the next day. You know, there's pluses and minuses. I could be 10x what I am today if I would have taken more risks, but I sleep good at night knowing that if I stop working tomorrow, all my bills are paid.
And what would you say right now, like he mentioned, just to kind of add on to the question that he had, is if you're looking to get into that, and because I know you mentioned early on you were kind of doing the most, right? And then you're just like, well, that wasn't worth it, and kind of taught you kind of one of those things that you kind of learn as you go. But right now, obviously, we're in a little bit of a difficult market. I know I've been talking to Corbin a lot right now. He's picking up properties, especially in this market. What would you say for other people that are wanting to? Because people do call us and they'll say, hey, I want to start buying investment properties, but right now is not the time because of the rates and the current market. What would you say to those people to do so?
You mean to like talk people into buying investment properties today, or
just like what? Yeah, exactly. Like, is that something that?
I mean, I have people come through my office a lot, and a lot of people come to me because they want to get pre-approved for a investment property.
Exactly those. Yeah.
But see, when you're buying an investment property retail today, unless you have some big tax consequences that you need to offset, it doesn't really make financial sense unless you're buying wholesale junk that you can fix up for some sort of upside.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say you're better off almost giving them the advice of like how to buy almost an off-market property or directing them to like the wholesale side. I mean, obviously that's
or if they're working with an agent, like tell your agent what they need to buy.
Right.
And they talk to their office and, you know, they'll find something. Right. But if they're trying to come buy some $400,000 house to hopefully make $100 a month,
it's not going to pan out.
Yeah. I mean, you could bank on rates being lower, which I am, but also I always try to put people in situations in case it doesn't. Yeah. You know? Okay.
No, that was my point. Yeah, I was asking. just because we do get that, right? We get the people, and
I show them the numbers. I mean, numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
you
And
know?
that's what I take them to rentometer.com and I'll be like, look, here's what you can, cause some of them are brand new in investing and they know nothing.
Yeah, and they're
So
trying to buy brand new houses.
And exactly. And they're trying to rely on you for that information. So I'll show them, be like, here's your mortgage payment. Here's what you're going to probably get in rent. If you're okay taking a $700 loss every month, go for it. But I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, unless they're buying a $500,000 house and they need to offset
Taxes.
$150,000 in tax.
Right.
That would be helpful.
Right. Because you could do a cost segregation. And those properties will eventually cash flow.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what's
When we're dead. No, I'm kidding.
pushed me back more into, I mean, long term, I bought houses in 2005, like the worst time you could ever buy. And in 2008, I looked really bad on paper. Did I like it? No, but I just kept making the payments. And then in 2010, they came out with some program where my 6.5% interest rate on the 30-year fix now became 3.25 on a 15. And I refied all of those, and well, guess what? They're all paid off now. So yeah, 2005 was a great time to buy long term, and so is today.
As you're looking at it that way.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking about like if you looked at it from like the tax piece of it, or if you are able to like break even, or even if you're underwater just a tad bit, but someone else is making the payment for you and kind of putting together like that 401k, I guess you could say, in the long run.
It's not a bad idea if you're a high income earner
Yeah.
and you need the tax benefit, but if the person can't make the payment for 3 months and you're going to be in a tough time, don't become an investor on a negative cash flow, because ACs go out or things happen, or you get a crackhead in your house and it costs you. I told you I had a $15,000 judgment on a guy from COVID, and he worked and made money, but these kind of people will work the system, and guess what? They don't.
You got to pay for it.
They don't.
They don't care.
All the tenants have all the rights, which is good because there are bad people out there. But then the good guys get completely screwed over.
Yeah.
So if like, dude, I buy houses with negative cash flow, but I have a lot of other cash flow to offset it.
Yeah.
So it has to make sense. As a first-time investor, I would not recommend that.
And kind of what I'm getting to is
That's interesting.
don't try to, for me, right? I'm like the crackhead, always wanting to like more properties or whatever it is. I just get super tunnel vision focused. So I got to be able to kind of step back. And for all new investors, for all people out there, I think it's just taking the time to make the right deal happen.
Yeah.
Finding the right deals and, not rushing it. And that's what I'm learning from you.
But I think there's benefit in that, like just being able to pull the trigger, because a lot of people like to sit on the sideline, don't pull the trigger, they wait, and then it's too late, or it's just a different time. It's a lot more difficult. So there is benefits that
You got to be quick to
Yeah.
react
Yeah.
for sure.
But
But
you don't
jumping
wanna-
at the first shiny thing might lead you down the wrong path.
Right. And then maybe,
But do your research and do it fast.
it's just strategy, right?
yeah, like now I'm kind of getting to the point where I have a few different private lenders that I can pull money from to buy these properties. So I have the resources to do it. And the deals come, I'm like, okay, I could potentially get 2 or 3 more into contract. And I'm like, is this a good idea though? Having 5 properties going at one time, probably is down the road, right? When I get to that point, but I don't think right now, I think just because I'm getting into it, I need to learn the basics of rehabbing it, fixing it up, making sure that it's solid. And then I can double it next time and double it the time after that,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And then maybe you do get to a point where you buy 10 in a year.
yeah.
You know?
Or even more than that, dude. More than that.
Yeah.
Start buying apartment buildings.
Yeah. There's that. I think it's over 12 units. You have to have an on-site manager. So now you just buy yourself a job.
There you go.
Yeah. Congratulations. No, I would love to own more and more and more and more. I think now I just think about it a little bit. Like, do I want to deal with this? What's the upside versus the downside? And
What are some of the downsides? What have you seen pop up on your properties?
like a lot of people like multifamily. I don't love it. I think the most headaches that I ever have is multifamily. Because you got multiple families living on one parcel that are neighbors, and it's your house.
They kind of. I had a fourplex, and they kind of like intermingle and create like a little tribe against you, dude,
I
if they
remember
want
like
something.
a
I'm serious.
guy was like, my neighbor's smoking downstairs. I'm like, I don't freaking care. Call the cops. You know, like what? Stop blowing the smoke. Like, am I your freaking parents? You know, I'm the landlord. Pay your rent and move on. You know, so. And you get a little bit better pride of ownership or tenantship with a single family. Like I drove by one of my properties. I'm like, wow, guy really takes care of it. You know.
So would you say the majority of your portfolio is single family?
Yeah, yeah. Nice. I have a fourplex, a duplex, and a triplex, but everything else is all single family.
And then you keep your cash working in private money for the most part, and things of that nature.
I didn't used to, but there were so many people buying houses for flips that it got so competitive and stuff wasn't coming across my desk as much. So I started lending my money out sometimes when there's nothing to buy. Well, because I'm sitting in the bank going, that's a lot of money, and I just made $30 for the month or something. You know, it was like stupid.
Yeah. So I didn't know. So I know that you own single families, and then I think you also do farming too, right? You own like
I do. Yeah.
Nice. So was that like, hey, I'm at the pinnacle of all like the single family homes, the residential, and now I want to take it to another level and do the farming piece of it? Or?
Before cost segregation, we had it's still around. So it's I think it's section 179 depreciation. So when you buy like a new truck or SUV, you could write off the whole thing. Well, the same thing works with walnut trees, grapes, almonds, any permanent crop. You can 179 the whole acquisition price up to, oh man, I think it's probably changed, but it used to be up to like 2.75 million.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I stopped buying rentals for a little while and started buying farms because the tax benefits outweighed. But then once cost segregation came into play and I could write off 30% roughly of the price of the rental, I'd much rather own rentals.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that already added that to your portfolio and added more income. How do you feel about that? Like, how do you like owning the farmland and that as far as?
I mean, long term, I think it's good. I have like some solar deals I'm working on right now,
Nice.
and if those go through, it'll be pretty lucrative. I haven't yeah. So the farms, there's companies out there that'll pay you to put solar panels on your property, or battery storage. So I'm working on some of that right now. Who knows? Probably won't go anywhere, but if it does, they're paying me X amount per year per ranch just to do the infrastructure on the computers and deal with the counties. If it gets approved, then I think minimum's like 2,000 an acre up to 3,000 an acre annually.
And he may have asked this, but how many acres do you have?
I think around 200.
Shit, man.
Nice.
And they're all walnuts?
Walnuts and almonds.
Walnuts and almonds. Wow.
Yeah.
That's what, we were just talking about that. He mentioned.
Yeah, it's not been, walnuts have been really bad in the last couple of years. The farming thing can be pretty scary if you don't have a lot of cash flow, because we went from making like $1.25 a pound to like 40 cents or 30 cents last year.
Kind of up and down. That market is a little bit.
It didn't used to be, but in the last recent years it has. China has produced a lot, and there was like some export tariffs and stuff that happened, and 75% of walnuts are exported. So it was a good tax write-off, but not the kind you're looking for.
Right. Now you can just
actually watch the money go out of my account.
Yeah. Yeah, now you can do cost segs on homes, so you don't need that much, right?
That's
what you mentioned. You went back to the homes,
Yeah, if I could sell all the ranches and just buy more rentals, who knows? I probably will at some point. Unless these solar things pan out, because then I'll be getting paid to not use water on my property, but also getting paid from the solar. Your land's valuable for not using it, basically. And then if it's farmed out to the solar companies, I don't do anything but wake up to a check, I guess.
Gotcha. That'd be nice.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah. So is there any last things you want to ask Ernesto?
There's too many things I want to ask. We have a couple minutes.
Yeah, we only got a few more. We got about 5 more minutes here. So ask away, man.
No, you go ahead. I mean, I'm just kind of going, enjoying the conversation, learning a lot. Go ahead.
If you could give a brand new loan officer, or even like a loan officer like me or Ernesto that's building our business.
Yeah, you guys are super brand new, right?
Yeah, super brand new. What would you tell them to help them grow right now in this market? My opinion is just keep sticking it out and keep doing the daily things, because you're going to get out of this market eventually, and that's going to be when you're going to probably really see your growth.
I would say that to you guys. Yeah, I would say you guys are going to do good. There's other people that would be new that I would say maybe not for you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
it's going to be tough.
Because how long can you weather the storm is the real question, right?
That's the truth.
And that's what a lot of people are noticing now, and they're starting to get out in different industries. They're going into solar. They're trying to do
the hard
other stuff.
part is you look at my story, and I was one of the ones that, I mean, I guess very successful from what I was in 2006, and I stuck through it, but I didn't know anything else. So I think people see that and they stay in the industry longer, but maybe they shouldn't have been in the industry in the first place.
See, you mentioned this before, right? And I've mentioned this before. There's people that have been doing this for so long, and I look and I'm like, why are they not farther along? Like, what did they do? Were they just lazy? Were they not?
No, they just don't have the right personality, in my opinion.
It's just the growth, right? Like, I think we were talking about it last time, that it was like there's people that are 20 years in the business or however many years in the business, but it's like it's not 20 years, it's 1 year 20 times. Right, there was never any growth year over year. They're doing the same things that didn't work.
I like
right.
the way you said that.
And they're not constantly growing or trying to, improve. And I know you've mentioned, I don't read books very often. The one that I thought was funny was the thing that we did. You said I read James and the Giant Peach or something.
Yeah,
but
good book.
Yeah, but you don't give
forced to read it in 4th grade or whatever.
But you don't give yourself enough credit in the fact that you are constantly growing. I feel like, and you're on all the conversations we've had, you're always thinking like, how can we make things better? How can we improve? You're always open to hearing other people's opinions on things, 100%. Even if it's me who's way, newer than you. So I think that's a testament to always being growth minded and always wanting to like push yourself further forward.
As hard as it is to hear constructive criticism, it's the biggest blessing you could do for your business, because you're going to go, shit, that sucked, but why? And I'm always I'm always asking the question, well, this happened. Well, why did that happen? And why is it ever going to happen again? And what can I change to make that better?
See, that's growth right there.
And you're always thinking about, how do I make my system better? Because, I mean, obviously I operate on a pretty high level, but like if people say, oh, you're really good. Yeah, I'm learning every day. Sometimes not the fun ways, but
right.
And you always got to have that mindset,
Yeah, you can.
I think the difference in when you guys ask, how am I gonna? You guys are doing all the right things. It's just tough market today. The people that we talk about that make the same 10 years ago as they do today, take out the market shakes, is just because they're comfortable, and I don't think I'll ever be comfortable, unfortunately. I wish I could. I'd be done.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting, because you mentioned the whole thing about how you don't like to read books. And I think that what books are is they take a lot of people that think like you and they extract all that information and they write a book about it.
Dude, that's
true. And then we read it and then we say, okay, if they're doing that, if we pretty much do what they did, then we can grow. And that's another form of doing it. But sometimes people have it just as natural.
I mean, if you can implement those things, 100%. But there's a lot of times I listen to podcasts, so it's kind of like reading a book.
Yeah, same. Yeah, exactly.
And I will straight try to just email myself, like I did it this morning, and try to come up with. I used to be like, oh my God, I need to do 100 things when I'd listen to one. And now I'm like, oh, I like that idea. And I'll just try to lightly implement one thing here and there and make my system better.
That's growth, yeah.
The book thing is huge, because I remember Wes Watson was like, you can read all the effing books you want, but that doesn't do shit for you. And I was like, I think it kind of does, but
I think it depends on the person.
Yeah.
it does. But also what I mean is like, you have to actually take the action. And that's what he's saying with it. Like, you have to actually take the steps every day. And that's your biggest teacher, is taking the steps every day, messing up, making mistakes. But at the end of the day, if you're actually taking the actions forward and having that mindset that you're going to move forward, be better, improve, make your business better, you're going to grow, So that's
All right. I'll admit I did read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Atomic Habits.
okay.
Yeah. And James and the Giant Peach.
There you go. But I think it's true, though. Podcasts are a form of modern books. That's why Audible exists.
Yeah.
It literally, it's what books are today. So that is still,
Yeah.
potato, you know what I mean, to a certain degree.
Yeah. Books are a good tool, but they're nothing without taking the action.
Exactly. What is his knowledge is power, but action, you can know everything in the world, and if you don't do anything, then it doesn't matter. You're just a really smart person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like having a bunch of bullets and no guns.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap up. Jeremy, thanks for coming on today, bro. I
right.
appreciate your
It was
insight,
fun.
your help, dude. And do you want to leave it with anything, Ernesto?
No, that was just a lot of interesting stuff. I know that we kind of squeezed it into a short amount of time, and it was just, I think it was just gold and nuggets.
It was.
A lot of bombs in there, so some good stuff.
I leave with keep growing your mortgage business if you're a loan officer, and invest your money right so that you can win long term and not just be a one-hit wonder.
And just your business in general. Keep going.
Yeah. And if you invest well, then hopefully you don't have to do loans your whole life.
Yeah, that's the scary part, right?
Wait a second. What am I doing?
All right. Thanks, guys. Wrapping it up.